At the foot of the Rocky Mountains sits a fortress unlike any other, ADX Florence. Reputed as the most secure prison on the planet, this penitentiary is designed to hold some of the most dangerous inmates in total isolation. The outside world has labeled it the Alcatraz of the Rockies, but those who live behind its walls would call it a perpetual nightmare. But what really happens inside these walls? Today, we take you beyond the steel doors, inside a maximum security prison, to uncover the reality most will never see. The Alcatraz of the Rockies. ADX Florence has a history that dates back to the early 1990s. Built in response to violent incidents and the need for a facility that could handle the nation's most dangerous inmates, it opened its gates in 1994. The prison was designed to eliminate escape and reduce inmate attacks, which had become a growing concern in lower security institutions. Today, ADX Florence stands in a barren stretch of Colorado, far from the noise of everyday life. The approach is lined with towering fences and watchtowers that seem to track your every step. Even from outside, tension hangs in the air like a storm cloud. Guards walk with grim determination, alert to constant danger. This is not a place for second chances. It is where the truly dangerous vanish from society's sight. Any notion of comfort ends once you pass those gates. The halls are a maze of electronic sensors, thick steel doors, and stark walls that devour natural light. Inmates soon learn that routine here is absolute, a rigid chain that binds them to a life of isolation. In ADX Florence, a single mistake can haunt you for years. Inside these walls, silence is more menacing than any shout. It's as though time itself slows, sharpening every fear. Each cell is stripped of all but the barest essentials. One look at the heavy doors tells you this place was built for the worst of the worst. Inmates rarely see another person up close, rarely glimpse the sky without barriers, and rarely remember what freedom once felt like. The ultimate prison lockdown. To grasp the true scale of security at ADX Florence, you have to step inside its endless layers of gates, scanners, and silent watchers. The perimeter is patrolled day and night by armed officers who keep their eyes on every corner. Motion detectors and cameras form a tight web, leaving no blind spots for any would-be escape artist. Concrete walls run deep beneath the ground, ensuring that tunneling out is nearly impossible. Every detail, from the reinforced steel of the doors to the placement of razor wire, is carefully designed to deter even the most cunning mind. The real heart of the prison's security, however, lies in its intelligence network. Prison officials monitor phone calls, letters, and any form of communication with surgical precision. Specialized staff members scrutinize every conversation, searching for coded messages or hidden threats. Sometimes, even the simplest phrase can raise alarm bells if it hints at contraband or a plan to disrupt the order. The goal is to keep inmates isolated not just physically, but mentally as well, cutting off potential alliances long before they can take root. Guards at ADX undergo rigorous training that hones both their physical responses and their psychological fortitude. They learn to read subtle cues, spot manipulative behaviors, and handle emergencies that could erupt without warning. In this setting, complacency can be lethal, and any lapse in vigilance could unravel the tight grip that keeps danger at bay. Uniformed officers move with a purposeful calm, each step echoing through these meticulously controlled hallways. Some might wonder if these measures go too far, blurring the line between necessary safety and cruel isolation. Yet for those who run this fortress, there is no room for half measures. ADX Florence exists for one reason: to neutralize the nation's most violent and disruptive criminals. A day in America's toughest prison. Daily life at ADX Florence begins with a strict head count, followed by a breakfast delivered through a narrow slot in each cell door. Inmates catch only a fleeting glimpse of the guard's hand, reminding them that human contact is a scarce luxury. Meals are bland and portioned just enough to keep them going. There is no dining hall, no gathering around tables, only the cold transfer of a tray from one set of metal bars to another. This pattern repeats at lunch and dinner, all under vigilant surveillance. Opportunities for recreation are tightly controlled. Inmates may get an hour of solitary exercise in a small concrete yard surrounded by walls so tall they can barely see the sky. Even then, they are alone, with no sight of other prisoners. This isolation is designed to break any chance of collaboration or rebellion. Time moves slowly in these moments, and the mind struggles to stay tethered to reality. Darkness creeps in, both literal and metaphorical, as day after day of monotony wears away at each inmate's sanity. And because you've made it this far, I've got a small favor to ask. Like this video and subscribe for more deep dives. Consider it a small act that won't land you in solitary confinement. Another aspect of daily life is the overwhelming silence. Guards speak in clipped tones. Inmates learn to keep their thoughts locked away, and every door seals shut with a resounding clang. Communication is sparse, and any word spoken might echo through these lifeless corridors for what feels like an eternity. In such an environment, the real battle becomes an internal war against isolation, boredom, and the slow erosion of hope. Prisoners in ADX must confront the stark truth. Here, time doesn't heal wounds. Who's inside ADX Florence? Within the fortified walls of ADX Florence reside individuals whose names have become synonymous with terror and infamy. One such inmate is Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the notorious Mexican drug lord and former leader of the Sinaloa cartel. After multiple high-profile escapes from Mexican prisons, Guzman was extradited to the United States in 2017. Convicted on numerous charges, including drug trafficking and money laundering, he now spends his days in the isolation of ADX Florence, far removed from the empire he once commanded. Another infamous resident is Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, the perpetrator of the 2013 Boston Marathon bombing. This act of terror resulted in the deaths of 3 spectators and injuries to over 260 others. Captured and convicted, Tsarnaev was sentenced to death in 2015 and has been confined to ADX Florence since, awaiting the outcome of ongoing appeals. The prison also houses Terry Nichols, an accomplice in the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing. This devastating attack on the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building claimed 168 lives and injured hundreds more. While the principal bomber, Timothy McVeigh, was executed in 2001, Nichols received multiple life sentences without the possibility of parole and remains incarcerated at ADX Florence. Ramzi Youssef, the mastermind behind the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, is another notable inmate. His plot to topple the Twin Towers resulted in 6 deaths and thousands of injuries. Captured in Pakistan in 1995, Youssef was extradited to the U.S., convicted, and sentenced to life in prison without parole. His days are now spent in the solitary confines of ADX Florence. The prison's roster has also included Robert Hansen, a former FBI agent turned spy for Russia. His espionage activities, spanning over 2 decades, compromised numerous U.S. intelligence operations. Arrested in 2001, Hansen was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. He remained at ADX Florence until his death in June 2023. Is ADX Florence too extreme? If the walls of ADX Florence could speak, they would recount endless stories of desperation, regret, and loss. To date, there have been no recorded escape attempts from this Supermax facility. The prison's architecture and security protocols are meticulously crafted to prevent any possibility of escape. Each inmate is confined by a 7 by 12-foot concrete cell for 23 hours a day, with a narrow slit window that offers only a view of the sky or a fragment of the surrounding mountains. This design ensures that prisoners cannot ascertain their exact location within the complex, thwarting any potential escape planning. The cells are equipped with motion detectors and surveillance cameras, allowing continuous monitoring of inmate activities. The facility is fortified with 1,400 remote-controlled steel doors, pressure pads, and 12-foot razor wire fences. The perimeter is patrolled by heavily armed officers, and the prison's control center can initiate a complete lockdown at the push of a button, sealing all doors instantly. These measures create a layered security system that is virtually impenetrable. Inmates are escorted by restraints by multiple guards whenever they are moved, minimizing the risk of coordinated actions. Human contact is minimal and interactions are closely supervised. The stringent daily routines and surveillance leave little opportunity for inmates to conspire or orchestrate escape plans. Yet debates swirl around the ethics of locking a human being in near total isolation for years on end. Lawsuits and reform proposals hover on the horizon, but the prison's granite walls seem unmoved by public outcry. Supporters of the Supermax model argue that it's a necessary evil, a fortress that prevents the worst offenders from harming anyone else. They point to reduced violence within these confines as evidence that, for all its grimness, ADX Florence works. Opponents counter with stories of inmates who enter with fragile mental health and leave with their minds in shambles, if they ever leave at all. The psychological cost, they claim, is too high a price for any society that calls itself civilized. If you had to pick one thing to take into an ADX Florence cell, what would it be? Let's see your answers in the comments. And while you're at it, give this video a like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most secretive places.